Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the first edition of our new podcast series called Between the Generations. I am Andy Brown. I'm a Chief Sustainability Officer at a water company, and this is.
I'm Emily Brown, and I'm a recent geography graduate and passionate environmental activist.
And if you hadn't guessed, we are father and daughter, hence the title, Between the Generations. So I'll let Emily explain where the kind of idea of this podcast came from and and what we're here to try and do.
Yeah, so from sort of my end, I graduated in the summer and really immediately wanted to sort of dive in and get into the sort of working world, get into the environmental sector. So I started my job search, but I was convinced I could do it by myself. But after a few months of trying, I realized it was going to be harder than I thought. So I sort of looked to Dad for some help and inspiration. And he sort of took me along on a few things. We went to the Anthropy conference together. And from there, just sort of got talking about how we could do something together to just build some momentum and, I mean, help me get some experience, but also just have some fun and, yeah, talk about sustainability.
And from my experience, the Anthropy conference was really interesting. And I guess as somebody who is at the mature end of their career, and I've been working in kind of different areas of sustainability for over 30 years now, I was really inspired by meeting and listening to inspirational and aspirational kind of young leaders in sustainability, people just starting their career. So Em and I got to talking about, okay, the world is facing some big challenges. How do we work between the generations to try and, maximize our chance of successfully meeting those challenges? So that's where the idea for this podcast came from. So today is just an introductory episode, and we are just going to talk a bit about sustainability in general, why we're both interested in it, and a bit about what we hope to achieve. And then in future episodes we're going to deep dive into some particular topics, the next one being energy, and particularly kind of renewable energy. And we're going to invite somebody who's just starting their career in that sector and somebody who is kind of absolutely kind of embedded in it. And we hope that we can have a conversation that will enthuse those of us who are more mature in our careers, and give us an extra boost to keep going and to keep wanting to kind of change things for the better, but also work out how we can help those starting in their career kind of supercharge kind of from the very beginning. So we're not professional journalists, so this is a podcast where we just want to kind of have a conversation, share some experiences, and debate around some of the big challenges. But yeah, consider us happy amateurs, if you like.
So my first question for you is, starting at the beginning, what drove you to work in this sector and in sustainability?
Well, I guess part of it was I grew up in a house where we talked about the environment. We were interested in the environment. Both of my parents did work relating to the environment, kind of zoology and biology related things. So from an early age, I was really, really interested in it. And so by the time I got to thinking about kind of later education, it was really the only thing I wanted to do. When I kind of went through and did my degree, and I did a degree in applied biology, so I didn't really specialize in environmental science or ecology or any of the fantastic actually kind of range of degrees you can do nowadays. I then kind of went into kind of biodiversity related work, and I got the feeling that actually I could probably do more good, make a bigger impact by working in industries kind of outside of the kind of normal, in the field, nature conservation work. And so that's really where kind of my career took me. So I've done work on purely kind of nature conservation and ecology, and I've had some fantastic kind of opportunities in doing that. I've worked in the kind of broader environmental side of things, looking at kind of environmental monitoring and kind of reporting and working that with our regulators. I've then moved into work on climate change, and particularly the adaptation to climate change. So thinking about how we will successfully deal with rising sea levels and increased temperatures and changes to rainfall patterns and all those kind of things. Then I got into some of the broader non-environmental elements of sustainability and got involved in place-based regeneration and understanding how businesses can help locations to kind of reset their vision and try and find a kind of a more successful way of developing. And now I'm kind of dealing kind of beyond sustainability and into what are purpose-led organizations. So how do you change business models to put purpose, and by purpose I mean the kind of well-being of planet and the communities that rely on the planet, right at the core of the way you run an organization, whether that's a business or a charity or a government department or an academic institution. So that's kind of where I am now. And although I've done lots of kind of on the ground making a difference bits of kind of sustainability, now what I'm doing is almost that kind of systems change side of things, which doesn't necessarily sound as sexy, but actually is really, really important.
Yeah. So, I mean, a long and varied career, but I mean, you've obviously, entered into a lot of the different aspects of sustainability and environmental work, but what has been the most sort of rewarding experience or aspect of your career so far? I feel like a name drop is coming, but
you know me so well. So I get asked that question quite a lot, and it's difficult. And conversations I have with sustainability professionals today, this feels like sometimes there's so much pressure on us, because the challenges of climate change and population growth and biodiversity loss and all these things are so great that sometimes we're so focused on what's the next thing that needs to be done. You forget about the impact that you've made, whether it's in a year or over your career. So it's quite hard to pick things out. But yes, obviously there is. So I've been involved in reintroducing 2 extinct species back into the UK. So a bird of prey called the osprey and an amphibian called the pool frog, and those, actually bringing a species back and seeing it thrive is just amazing and hard to beat. And yes, as part of the Osprey reintroduction, I was lucky enough to do a creative film with Sir David Attenborough, who narrated it for us, which we then sold, and the profits of that film went to keep funding the project. So meeting your absolute all-time life hero is amazing. But having said all of that, recently I've helped the British Standards Institute, alongside some amazing people, write a new thing called a publicly available specification, which sounds dull, but it's actually really, really interesting and really important. And this standard, this proto standard, is about purpose-driven organizations and what does a really purpose-driven organization look like? What are the principles that organization adheres to, and what are the behaviors you'd expect to see that organization display? And those, although that's not as sexy, it's something else that I think is a huge achievement, because I think we fundamentally have got to change business models to bring them into line with, yes, making a profit, because that's important to be able to kind of be financially sustainable, but do that in a way where you are creating a positive impact on the environment and on communities as well.
Yeah, definitely both very interesting, but one more flashy, I'd say.
Excellent word. Yeah. Okay, so my chance to ask you then. So that's yeah, I'm 30 years into my career, and we haven't. Yes, growing up together, we I've always taken you out places. I've always tried to point out things in the natural environment,
Yeah.
not to kind of brainwash you, but just because it's things that I'm passionate about, whether it's birds or flowers or trees or amphibians or insects or whatever. I think it's important to kind of highlight what is in the natural world alongside us. So but my intention was never to force you into a career in the environment or sustainability. So why choose the degree that you did, and why start to think about entering a career in sustainability?
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely, and not like in a brainwashing way, but I think just having the natural world at like the forefront of your childhood, as you said you did, it just does make you have an appreciation for the world and makes you love nature. So I think I always at school loved geography. I loved sport as well, being outside, anything that meant I could be in the natural environment. And just walking holidays in the Peak District and holidays to Cornwall and being in the sea. I think all of that stuff just definitely made me think that the best choice for a degree would be geography or something related to the environment. And I think leaving school at 18, I definitely thought doing a broad geography degree would be the best way to learn the most I could about the environment. So that's why I chose geography. And then I chose to study at the University of Exeter, but in Cornwall, at their Cornwall campus, because again, just being by the sea was like such a massive draw for me and my happiness and where I want to be in life and sort of what I want to do. Getting into the sector, I think at the time of coming to uni at 18, I'd sort of done some volunteer things like a turtle project in Greece and things like on the ground in the field. And I thought that's definitely what I want to do. I want to be there at the forefront, picking up turtle eggs and things like that, and really, being on the ground. And I think what I've learned since, well, probably in the last year of my degree and then since leaving uni, is that actually a way to make a real difference for the environment and for the big challenges like climate change is actually probably to get into the slightly more what I would have thought is boring areas of sustainability, like the policy, like law, like that purpose-driven things like that. So now I sort of have a different motivation to gain the skills I need to sort of excel in that part of the sector, I guess, because I think that is where the real change is needed to tackle the big challenges. And obviously, because I've got 30, 40 years ahead of me of working, I want to make sure I get into a career that can hopefully help us get on the right track and improve the natural world instead of keep degrading it, I guess. That is what I would say. I hope that makes sense.
So basically what you're saying is you definitely didn't go to Exeter Cornwall campus just for the surfing.
Just for the it was a big draw, but it wasn't the only reason.
Well, absolutely.
It's helpful, I think, to live and like learn and work in the environment you're trying to protect. I'm very grateful for the experience, and it just reminds you every day like why you're doing what you do, I think. So sounds cheesy, but
no, it's I'm a strong believer in you work a huge proportion of your life, so try and do something that you are passionate about and that gives you some joy and sense of achievement as well, which is hard. And I guess we're coming on to that. So you've not landed your first kind of full-time job yet, so how talk to us about that kind of the difficulty of the kind of the catch-22 of the job versus experience kind of cycle that you're facing at the moment.
I think for me, sort of, I went straight to uni at 18, straight out of school, and didn't take a gap year or didn't use that year to work or anything, because I thought I wanted to just get straight into it and get learning and sort of, yeah, get started. But I think then coming out the other side and going to look straight for jobs and seeing a lot of entry level, well, jobs that are marketed as entry level, they want you to have sort of 3 years of experience within the sector and a degree, but they're going to pay you for entry level or want you to be sort of the lowest level, was sort of something I wasn't expecting. Because I've done sort of volunteering, I've done a few little internships, and definitely have got some good work experience. But I think, yeah, it's a real challenge coming out as a graduate. You know, I got a good grade and I was sort of ready and raring to go coming out of my dissertation project, and then to be sort of met with that surprise, it was quite hard. And I've been rejected from a lot of jobs which I thought I would be really good at or thought I had enough, and then you're just, you know, beaten by people that have just got more experience. And obviously I did choose, I'm still in Cornwall. But I think there needs to be a little bit more trust in graduates that we have what it takes to do the jobs marketed at us. So that's what I would sort of say.
Yeah.
But I think I've also encountered so many people that are so willing to help and so lovely, sort of, especially from Anthropy. I met a lot of people there and made a lot of connections, and I'm doing a little bit of work experience at the moment with Sarah from Anglian Water with the Green Light Trust to help sort of them work on their sustainability strategy and writing that. And Sarah was so lovely to sort of involve me in that. And, you know, people don't have to help and everyone's busy, so that's been great to meet a lot of people like that are helping.
But you certainly haven't rested kind of on your laurels and kind of felt sorry for yourself. You've, like you say, yeah, you've done kind of marketing, sustainability marketing kind of experience with organizations. You've come and helped out and done events, sustainability related events. You've done kind of research, and you're now doing this work with an environmental charity, helping them to develop a sustainability policy. So, you know, those things should help, I guess.
Yeah,
I guess kind of demonstrate that you've got the experience, and you know, doing this podcast, that, you know, that's your idea, and I think it's fantastic. I'm really happy to kind of do it with you.
I think well, I think I would just say, I think the advice I would give is, like, when I came out, I definitely was very much like, oh, I don't want any help. It's embarrassing, you know, to have my dad try and help me get a job effectively. But then, you know, I think it was just, I was being naive, and sort of, you just need to use the connections you've got. And like, it's been really amazing. You've been able to, you know, get me into events I wouldn't have been able to go to. So I've been able to meet so many people and gain that experience. And I think, yeah, I would just say to people, use whatever you can, like from uni, if you've got lecturers, or don't be ashamed to like take the help, I think is what I would say.
Yeah. And I think, you know, just to say that this is just about exposing you to the range of opportunities that are out there. So, you know, you know, you haven't got a job yet. I've not tried to kind of get someone to give you a job. What I'm,
no.
What this is all about is just trying to show you the range of stuff, and to go and experience it, and to go out and you know, you are doing it for yourself. You are going out and doing work. You're taking on internship positions while you're working, you know, in a supermarket to earn enough money to pay for your own rent. So, you know, this isn't about, you're not asking for anything other than advice and support. So, you know, that's really important. So I think, you know, being able to you know, I think, you know, businesses, organizations have got to think about, okay, how can we get the next generation in? How can we give them that experience, whether that's short-term internships or work experience, or just kind of thinking beyond the kind of the level of experience you need, and think about attitude, and think about, you know, um, desire and willingness to get involved, rather than levels of experience and
I think that's the thing that is a shame. I know like a lot of people from my course also in the same position that haven't landed a job yet, and you come out of uni with such a passion, and I think it's really easy to, after getting those rejections, to just be like, oh, I don't want to do it anymore, and I'm not good enough. And but I think, yeah, just remembering that it is just competitive. And I mean, my degree taught me so much, and I still, I'm ready to use it whenever whenever the right thing comes along, and to just keep, gaining experience and being out in nature and things like that. So, yeah.
And I guess that, and that really is something across the generations, which is different. It's, the jobs market is so much harder today to kind of get into, compared with when I started a job, back in the 90s. But there we go. So, Em, I think you've got another question for me.
Yeah, I was going to say, so you still have a few working years left. So what would you most sort of like to achieve before the end of your career? Or do you have sort of a big goal or anything like that?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And I've done mentoring with lots of kind of people over the years, and talk about kind of career paths and everything. And I always feel a bit of a fraud, because I've never, and I know lots of people who have, but I've never sat down and said, right, my ultimate aim is to be in this position at this point in my life. I don't think I'm driven that way. And, some people might say, well, more for you. But for me, it's been about following the opportunities and saying yes to things is, I think, rarely the wrong thing to do. So I think you regret the things you say no to, the older you get, not the fact that you said yes to it and it didn't work out. So throughout my career, I've always just gone, okay, yes, that looks interesting. And every time I've thought about leaving a job and going to do something else, sometimes, something really interesting and exciting has kind of popped up, and challenging as well. I'm an ecologist originally, so then moving into climate change work was a challenge, but hugely rewarding, and brilliant in terms of the ability to then learn lots of new things and then apply those within a business context. So in terms of what would I like to have achieved? Well, so I've talked about PAS 808, which is this purpose driven organization standard. One of the things we're looking at the moment is how that might become an international standard. So, I'm not naive to think that every organization in the world is desperate to become purpose driven, but I've been really surprised in starting the conversations about how would that be received, in different parts of the world. I did an online conference in Asia a month or so ago, and there are about 130 organizations on there, all wanting to listen and learn about how businesses can become more purpose-led, and what that means, and what the benefits of it are. So I guess, that is one thing that if I could help to create, because it wouldn't be me creating it, but I can stimulate the creation of an international purpose-driven standard, and start to see more organizations and businesses particularly moving from, the kind of traditional approach of, well, I say traditional approach, it's only in the last 100 years or so, but focusing really on profit and short-term profit at that, to a more sustainable, purpose-driven well-being of the people and planet at the heart of things. That would be amazing. Or I think going back to my roots and reintroducing another species. Who knows? One or the other. Yeah.
Well, I think collaboration and like everyone working to the same standard, I think, is the biggest thing that will drive us towards success when you are talking about things like climate change. Because I mean, if everyone's just working to different standards and different policies across the world, it's much harder to create meaningful change, I think. So stuff like PAS 808 will, I think, be really important in the next few years and decades. So hopefully you can leave that legacy.
Yeah, well, it's only partly mine. All of the achievements that I talk about across my career have been down to lots and lots of people, lots of organizations. I've just been, privileged to be a part of it, and had quite, I look back on it, quite an extraordinarily rewarding career, which is not quite kind of over yet. And I mean, so we've had these conversations at home many times about, what's it feel like to be, a teenager and coming into kind of adulthood when there is so much, so much of a challenge out there, whether it's, conflicts going on around the world, or whether it's climate change and the impacts of that, or biodiversity loss. And I remember you asking and saying, is there any point now? Is there, is it just too late? So, I mean, how do you feel about that now?
I think it is easy to get negative about things and sort of looking forward. Definitely, yeah, with how much of my working life I have left, to sort of remain positive, thinking about things like climate change and biodiversity loss. And sometimes I think, might be easier to just work in a little cafe by the sea and just try and forget that that's all going on. But then I think there is so much positive change happening at the moment. And definitely during my course, being around so many young people that are also striving for change. And I mean, many of them already have landed careers or first jobs where they're making a difference already. And that's just amazing. And I think more positive change has happened in the last 5 years than sort of before then, learning sort of historically about things. But no, I do think getting into the sector now, although it's scary, it's a very exciting point. And I think humans were very, we always find the solutions when it gets to breaking point. And I think it is getting to that point. So I think a lot of things will happen in the next few years, and it'll be an exciting place to be working in.
Yeah, you're right. Our species is an incredibly destructive one, but also an incredibly
innovative, I think.
Innovative, and it can be, caring as well. So yeah, I agree. I mean, the change, the acceleration in action, not just talk, over the last 5 to 10 years has been really, exciting to see, and does genuinely give me hope. But also, the massive increase in the understanding in the general population, and the desire to get involved and to make their voices heard. But also, like, coming back to the start, seeing inspirational young leaders kind of coming into the sector, who I know are going to really drive it forward. And I guess, part of my thoughts around this, this whole podcast series is about, highlighting that, and, saying, well, okay, how do we work across those generations to really have the greatest impact? Because, effectively meeting all these challenges is not a sprint. It's going to be more of a relay race. And this is about kind of handing the baton across and saying, keep sprinting, keep sprinting. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I think my generation, and like you said, Anthony, hearing people my own age talk and have such, amazing ideas. And I mean, I've got a very creative mind, and I think everyone's, wanting to do good and tackle these challenges. So then we just need the knowledge from people that have been working in the sector and come together. And I just think nothing will get done unless everyone works together, which is obvious, but it sounds a bit like a kind of motherhood and apple pie kind of thing, isn't it? But actually the challenges are so great that they're it requires all of us to get together, and actually it's all of our responsibilities. I get tired sometimes of people saying, well, they've got to do that, or they've got to do that, or someone's got to do something. No, we have to do
take action in our daily lives. We have to take action in the way we consume things. We can take action in our working lives. We can take action in our kind of political approach to life as well. So I think we've all got to get involved if we're going to make a real difference. So we're pretty much up to time now. So it's been lovely kind of having this chat. It's something that we should definitely do more often, and this is just the kind of first introductory episode of our podcast. So in future, what we're going to do, the format will be slightly different. So Em and I will be here to host a conversation between generations, but we're going to be inviting 2 other people to join us. So we're going to be inviting somebody just starting out in their career and somebody who is fairly senior and has been kind of working at it for quite some time. So the next episode is going to be on energy and renewable energy. And alongside us, we're going to have Dr. Angie Needle, who's the Director of Strategy at Cadent Gas. And Em, who else are we having joining us?
And we're going to have one of my best friends from university. She is Ella Massiter, and she's working as an impact coordinator at Communities for Renewables.
So that should be a fascinating conversation. There'll be less of Em and I chatting and more us kind of interrogating others to get to the heart of the matter. So, as I say, this is, we're not professional journalists. This is something that we wanted to do because we feel passionately about it. We've hoped you've enjoyed the conversation and got something from it. We hope you will join us next time. And if you have liked it, recommend it and pass it on to others.
Share it.
Yeah. And
give it a thumbs up.
Yeah. So it's been great. Thanks very much. I really enjoyed chatting
to you.
And we'll see everybody next time for the next episode.